I'm Stephanie Farrell, Head of Integrated Trading Solutions for the Americas. I'll be your host for Faster Forward in the Field podcast episode, and I'm joined by Gary Paulin, Head of Enterprise Solutions at Northern Trust. We spent the last 3 days together at InvestOps down in Orlando. Really great opportunity to connect with managers all across the U.S. A lot of really key themes have been resonated throughout the past 3 days, so happy to kind of spend some time with you and unpack that a bit. Can you share what impact the 2024 election has had on some of the dialogue we're having today? I think we're coming off of a pretty volatile week, so a lot of this really is resonating in the conversations we're having.
Yeah, well, excuse the sporting metaphor, but it's been a game of two halves. I was in Florida back in January, and the mood was very much one of exuberance. Animal spirits was a word I was hearing on multiple occasions. The mood now is very different. There is a high degree of uncertainty, which is causing folks to pause and reflect, and obviously there's volatility in markets. But if there's one thing that I think I would take away is, for the first time in a very long time, I'm now seeing managers starting to question whether they should be allocating more of their risk capital into other regions of the world, right? So this idea of US exceptionalism is now being questioned, and whether there may be other opportunities elsewhere. So that would be the key takeaway I picked up this time, which I haven't really sensed in previous times I've traveled to America.
Yeah, that's really interesting. No shortage of geopolitical factors out there. So as we think of expanding asset allocation around the globe, what are some of the key things that business leaders are thinking about?
Yeah,
there's a lot.
It's a great question. And look, I mean, pick your poison, right?
Yeah.
Trump, tariffs, trade wars, Taiwan, right? Interest rate volatility. I mean, there is just so many things that are driving this uncertainty. And look, I'm absolutely certain there will be another career-defining crisis.
Sure.
Problem is, no one can predict where or when that will come.
Yeah.
But what we can do, and what our clients are doing, is think about how they can better prepare for these outcomes. And what I'm seeing signs of is a lot of CEOs I've spoken to are trying to think about how they can bring more simplicity into their operating models. Simplicity being the antidote to complexity. So we're seeing more and more talk about moving to more capital light models and actually outsourcing, because what that does is it enables them to get more variable cost into their model, which means they get more margin resiliency in the face of asset volatility, more business resiliency in the face of disruption, more agility in the face of change, which change is the constant, and of course they get scale if they want to grow. So I think that discussion around outsourcing and moving to a more capital light model is one that I've sensed more this time than I have at any other time previously.
Absolutely. I think as the markets stabilize, right, as we hope to get to that place, what role does operational efficiency play in building long-term resilience? We've heard a lot over the past 3 days about the 1 to 3 year plans and getting operations in a more efficient place.
Yeah. Well, I just came off from speaking 10 minutes ago, and one of the comments I made is that I believe operational alpha is about to regain its position, if not overtake that of investment alpha, in terms of its importance for firms. And the reason I say that is, given the uncertainty we're in and the need to be proactive in the face of change, the need to move into new markets, new strategies, and new assets, is, I would say this, that successful strategy is now more dependent on structure than ever before.
Right.
And just on structure, what I mean by structure is I don't just mean having the right op models, the right data architecture, the right tech stack. I mean having the right people and the right culture, a culture to deal with change, a culture that embraces failure, reacts to failure quickly, but it's very open, adaptable, and really focuses on its people, because it's the people that have to enact these changes.
Absolutely. A certain nimbleness we're seeing, right? The ability to pivot and have that long-term strategy, recognize the opportunities from either a client or an
100%.
asset allocation.
100%. And change is hard, right? And when we're talking about change, it's not just, tech change or changing to an asset. It's about the business. It's about the people. So you need to make sure as leaders, we're open to change, and that we're willing to embrace it. Because if we can't embrace that, we might miss the future.
Sure. So one of the key terms that we've heard throughout has been strategic partnerships,
Yeah.
right? So where we're looking to form deeper embedded connections with our clients and vice versa, moving beyond just a vended relationship across the organization. So it's a big part of what you do in your role is helping to connect those dots in a more unified solution. Anything you take to our listeners today on what you're seeing or how other firms are starting to move into that type of thinking?
I think the real key is in environments like we're in is the elevated importance of communication.
Sure.
Be that with your vendor or internally. And I think you really have to be quite thoughtful as to how you create the space for communication to occur. I said earlier that if you want good creative outcomes, well, creativity is a contact sport. You need to be, in a space where these ideas can bump into each other.
Sure.
And I'm seeing a few firms think about that in a very physical sense. So for example, a couple of firms I know in the UK have thought about how they create that cognitive diversity on their trading floor, for example, where they have not just their equity traders, but also their bond traders, the derivatives team, the data, the risk, the compliance folks, all coming together, which not only helps them make better and faster decisions, it can lead to creative and innovative outcomes. And I think that's a really interesting thing to take away when you look at your own setups. It's not just the communication, it's actually creating the space to enable communication to flourish.
Absolutely. You just delivered a rousing keynote address to the main hall. It was a really great session and a lot of managers there in attendance. What would be some of your key insights that you shared during that session that you'd like to leave with our viewers?
I'm double down on the cultural bit.
Yeah.
There's lots of things that are beyond our control. We have no idea what the future holds, but there are things that we do control. We control the tone of our communication. As leaders, we can build that communication muscle, collaboration. Think about removing silos.
Right.
Think about, we don't want that us and them mentality. Get our ops teams to spend more time with our investment teams. Get them to see what they see and therefore need. Going back to my earlier point, successful strategy is now more dependent on structure than ever before.
Sure.
So just thinking about how we can get more teams talking, acting together, and I think that's going to be a key criteria for success. And if I finish with one thing, it's again at a conference like this, I think it brings it to life. But if you want to build team spirit, if you want that collaboration, you often find it best at the bottom of the wine glass. You don't have to drink alcohol, but I think the idea of getting people together is so important. Shared experience, we learn, and we make new relationships, and that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Gary. It's been a pleasure to sit with you today and be at the InvestOps conference, navigating the global trends that our clients face is no small task. I think the right combinations of strategies and efficiencies, we can see really the buy-side firms continuing to succeed into the future. Thank you for tuning in to our first Faster Forward in the Field by Northern Trust Asset Services.